Alright ladies, some of you won't like what I'm about to say, but you need to hear it today. A man's brain subconsciously places women into three categories. The woman he takes for granted, the woman who's good enough, and the dream woman. Now, in my private coaching, the vast majority of women I work with are usually stuck in the good enough category. You get attention, you get chemistry sometimes, but you don't get decisive commitment. However, before you spiral into self-blame or self-punishment, let me make something very clear. This is not about your worth, it's not about your beauty or being perfect. I want you to pause for a second and really think that if you're attractive, intelligent, and emotionally aware, why do you often find yourself stuck in mixed signals or one-sided relationships? And here's what most women don't realize, and that is that a man doesn't choose based only on how much he feels, he also chooses based on how his brain evaluates long-term investment. There are many specific psychological filters that activate when a man moves from attraction to selection. And if you don't understand those filters, you can be incredible and still find yourself overlooked again and again. My name is Ismael Gomez and I coach women like you to attract authentic love with a man. And if you're tired of decoding mixed signals, watching all these videos, trying to figure out a man's true intentions with you, I've also created a wonderful free guide that you can get in the pinned comment. Now let's begin this video. Number 1. He chooses when loss is possible. This might challenge everything that you've been told, ladies, right? You probably heard that if you love a man well enough, support him deeply, show him that you're loyal and available, he's going to eventually choose you. But that is not how male psychology works. A man does not commit because he feels wanted. He commits when he feels that he could lose something valuable. Behavioral science calls this loss aversion, the principle that human beings are more motivated to avoid losing something than they are to gain something new. So if he senses that you're going to accept inconsistent effort, you're going to wait for him indefinitely, he's going to stop feeling the need to secure you. Now, this is where a lot of you ladies misunderstand this concept. This is not about playing hard to get. It's not about threatening to leave every time that you feel uncertain, creating drama. This is about something more mature. Presence that is not guaranteed. When a man senses that your presence in his life depends on alignment, not just affection, his brain is going to shift. When he knows that you value him, but you also value your time, your direction, and your standards, commitment circuits are going to activate because now staying the same has a cost. Like I always give this analogy in my private community that if you have a Netflix subscription and you enjoy, watching the movies and shows that they have, but suddenly one day you stop paying, what happens? You lose complete access. Netflix does not chase you, does not tell you, hey, I just made 3 new movies, maybe you watch them and you'll decide to stay. No, it's like no payment, no subscription. Meaning that if access to you is automatic, it is taken for granted. But if access has conditions, standards, and boundaries, it is more valued. Number 2, he chooses the woman who reflects his future self. Attraction is not just about chemistry, it is also about identity. Identity-based attraction is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology, and people are naturally drawn to environments and relationships that reinforce who they believe that they are or who they want to become. And this is especially true for men. We are deeply responsive to status elevation cues. And I don't mean social status in just the superficial sense, but internal status. Competence, direction, respect, capability. If being with you reinforces his higher self, the disciplined version of him, the provider version, the leader version, his brain is going to associate you with growth. And growth is obviously very attractive. But if being with you keeps him in comfort mode, distraction mode, immaturity mode, attraction may stay, but commitment never truly forms. And this is where responsibility comes back to you, because you also have to choose a man whose values align with the direction that you're encouraging. Because if he doesn't value growth, stability, or leadership in the first place, no dynamic that you create is going to manufacture that. You cannot inspire a future that he does not want. That being said, you don't have to lecture him about what's right or wrong. Your presence either amplifies the man that he wants to be or it doesn't. And here's the deeper layer, that when commitment aligns with identity, it stops feeling like sacrifice. Again, when being with you reinforces his higher self, choosing you becomes the simplest choice to make. Number 3. His brain filters for emotional cost. One of the biggest things that a man's brain evaluates, often without him even realizing it, is emotional cost. Not consciously, neurologically. He's not thinking how much maintenance this connection is going to require, but his nervous system is constantly tracking it. Even if he likes you, even if the chemistry is strong, if being with you feels emotionally unpredictable or high pressure, his amygdala, the brain's threat detection system, is going to activate. And when the amygdala is active, long-term planning shuts down and he doesn't move toward commitment, he moves toward protection. You feel distance, defensiveness, he pulls away, okay? And now, this is not about you ladies being too emotional, it's about emotional rhythm. The woman that he commits to is not the one who never has needs or standards, it's the one whose standards feel clear and not chaotic. There's a difference between I value this or demanding or giving ultimatums of like, are you going to meet this or not? And just to give you a really good example that I know a lot of you do this, okay? I was recently talking to a client and she was talking to men on dating apps, and before they even met in person, she was asking them like, hey, are you okay with being with a woman who's not going to be a housewife? You know, asking all these questions about her career and, you know, the standards that he had about a woman staying home and taking care of the kids or just cooking and cleaning. And I understand that you're looking for alignment, but before connection forms, all this heavy future framing is going to feel like pressure, and pressure before safety is going to create hesitation. And this does not mean that you shrink yourself, okay? Because I can already see the comments. It means that timing and tone are going to shape how your message lands. Because I really want you to understand this, ladies, that the right message delivered the wrong way can quietly cost you the right partner. And final, number 4, the woman who cares less often gets chosen more. Okay, this last point does not mean that you have to be cold. It doesn't mean that you have to play games or suppress your feelings. It's about the woman who's less anxious about the outcome. When someone feels that your emotional state is heavily tied to their response, it activates responsibility. And responsibility before commitment is chosen often feels like a weight on your shoulders. Now, the nuance about all this is that when you are secure, when you like him but you don't need the outcome, your nervous system is going to stay regulated. And this regulation changes everything because you're present, you're engaged, you're warm, but you don't have this suffocating energy. So the woman who cares less is usually the woman who has a full life outside of him. She does not mentally commit before he does, and she does not collapse her identity into the connection. When a man feels that you're stable, you know, that you're good with or without him, something shifts neurologically. His brain does not register you as a source of pressure, it registers you as a source of value. Value that is not guaranteed, value that is not chasing, value that is self-contained. And if you embrace this mindset, I promise you, you're going to quietly notice how differently men interact with you. Alright ladies, so if you've recognized yourself anywhere in this video, something spoke to you, don't just move on and click away to consume another video. If you want more clarity because you're tired of mixed signals or trying to decipher what a man is thinking, what is he saying, I created a free guide, okay, that is in the pinned comment, and this is going to kind of break down exactly what is happening in your situation and what to do next. Remember that awareness changes nothing unless you apply it. So watching these videos, I'm sure that they're helpful. Get the guide, it's going to give you a lot of clarity, but make sure that you're executing these things in your life and you're not just passively consuming content all the time. Anyways, thank you for subscribing to my channel, and remember that for your relationships to change, you need to change, okay? Have a beautiful day.